these OG507s, which look a little bit more like dress pants, versus these 107s that look a little bit more like, so you can cinch them up by 2 inches. I mean, look at this. The way the material drapes. In this bag, we have what is considered one of the best reproductions of the OG107. Let's get it out immediately to show you. Oh yes, there it is. Look at that. 100% cotton sateen, reverse sateen even, as I pull that out. Best value quality garment. Indigosea. Overalls, trousers, shirts, jackets, coats, footwear, hats, and bags. Manufactured, design by Indigosea. These look absolutely perfect. Size 32 by 32. Just like my Wrangler 13 MWZ. Manufactured by Indigosea LLC. 100% cotton. These tags are nice as well. Yeah, and we'll also get these compared to the OG507s that I have, the vintage pair. But look at this beautiful cotton. This is why people love the OG107s. I said in certain ways that the 507s are better, but obviously when it comes to 100% cotton, it is truly hard to beat, because synthetics, they have their place for sure, but cotton also just has this beautiful hand to it, especially this military spec kind of a garment. It is the original type with the buttons here on the waistband as well. You have the belt loops, 5 belt loops, just perfectly stitched, bar tacked on the edges here where it's important for reinforcement. Wow, how nice is that? Let's get these on, shall we? The Indigosea OG107, these are actually made after military specs, and they list out absolutely everything when it comes to how they make these, what kind of thread they use. Everything's on their website. Check out my affiliate links. I did get these for free for purpose of review, but I wanted these to begin with because they're actually the best priced OG107 reproduction that you can find on the internet, and I think they're also probably some of the best ones. Obviously, I'm not going to compare them to something like some high-end Japanese brand, right? I mean, I'm sure people will mention those. It's dope to mention them. I love having those conversations. But if you're not, you know, super affluent to purchase a $300 pair of pants, these run for about 60 USD. And to me, they're amazing. They feel great. 100% cotton sateen, as mentioned. They are military spec. 32 by 32 are the ones that I'm wearing. I have a 31.5-inch waist, which you know, maybe I should get that down a little bit. I've been drinking a little bit of beer lately, and my natural inseam is about 30.5 inches, so that means, you know, these size 32, this is what it looks like before they're washed. And I'm wearing this nice Horween Latigo leather belt from Gustum, along with these Iron Rangers, and you should check out the size chart as well, because these are size 32 by 32, and I do full written reviews on Splished.com, so check out my written review, because I'll have my own measurements as well. So check out Indigosea's measurements, and then I'll also post my own measurements of these in the description below. They have the square kind of pocket flaps with the nice buttons. They're fairly lightweight, so you'll be able to wear these pretty much year round. If you wanted to wear them in the summer, you can definitely wear them in the summer. In the winter, you can always layer something underneath them if it's a little bit too lightweight for you. In terms of like historic pants, these are probably the most historic ones that people like the most. These are the ones that are the most sought out, the ones that are purchased for the most on vintage marketplaces like eBay, Depop, Poshmark, stuff like that. People love the OG107, the uniform in general, because that uniform came along with the M65, right? And the M65 is very beloved. And when it comes to these Indigosea, I'm looking around at the stitching, and everything is perfectly in order. It is definitely to military spec from what I can see and from what I've read about the military spec. I don't go super in depth with it or anything, but I do kind of glance over that stuff, and I enjoy the history behind it, and use my links, their affiliate links, and I'll get a little bit of kickback without any extra charge to you. But yeah, the Indigosea OG107s, I think these are probably the ones to buy, because there's other brands out there, and based on what I've seen in terms of price point as well as the make, how they're stitched, what the military spec is that they're following, with that nice right here with that button waistband there. I really enjoy those details. So you can cinch them up by 2 inches, basically 1 inch on each side, and then you don't even have to wear a belt. I haven't even been wearing these for only maybe like 3 hours so far, and they're starting to take a really nice shape. They have that kind of roundedness that I feel like a lot of fashion people are into, but they get their pants built this way instead of actually having thighs that make the material kind of round off. I don't think having rounded like legs built into things looks that good, but it does look actually really good when it just becomes part of the material naturally like this, because it's a straight leg, right? Right now I'm wearing them with some Danners Stalwart boots. Fits right over them really nicely, and these have a very beautiful texture. Maybe I should get out of direct sunlight, but it's, yeah, you can see it right there. Wow. And I always got to mention the pockets. When it comes to the pockets, they feel just like the Wrangler 13 MWZ. I'm telling you, every time I bring up the Wranglers, I just feel like that pocket size is basically the perfect depth, even though it's not super deep, but it is a very good depth. And I believe that these are basically the same, but of course they're patched on, right? These are patch pockets. They're not the type of cotton pockets you would be able to pull out like a bag. I mean, look at this. The way the material drapes, I'm kind of just, lightly moving it. I just really like that drapiness to it. It's a lightweight material. It's a 9-ounce material, but once it shrinks a bit, it'll become a 10-ounce, which is intended. Yeah. It's sitting lower on my body right now because it's a little bit larger than my waist size, and I don't have a belt, and I didn't cinch up the things. So when I cinch both sides up, they fit me perfectly without a belt, which is nice. So that's 2 inches then. And the buttons are really beautiful looking. I mean, look at that. The buttons are really nice, as I've already said. And now that I've been using them for a little while, the buttons in the placket I noticed, of course this is military spec, but I don't know all the military specifications for this garment necessarily. But as you can see, the stitching here, that's really interesting, and I like that because it keeps it together, right? Very simple, but I just noticed it as I had to button up the fly a few times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 buttons. It does pick up a lot of lint and stuff, but that's kind of the nature of the material. You don't really see any kind of stitches that are off. I had a couple of strings come off, but that's pretty normal. There's no like loose strings that I had to cut off or anything like that. And yeah, bar tacking there on the back pockets as well at the edges, as well as on the flaps. Here we have the OG107 on the left with the OG507 on the right. Now you can see the differences quite clearly. The color's going to be different as well as the material is different. This uses synthetics here, this OG507. This is the newer model that came out, the newer military spec. This is actually a vintage version. So this is from back in the day. This is about the same size. It's a 32 by 31 versus the Indigosea 32 by 32. On the OG107, you have the buttons, and like I mentioned, this here, the stitching kind of reminds me as well. Of course, Barbara wouldn't have been the one to come up with this, but let me grab this jacket right here. This is the M65. This is the same uniform between the two. This is a vintage M65, and this is the Barbara I mentioned. I just wanted to show like the placket here on this nice Barber jacket, how you can see the stitching in between each buttonhole that kind of keeps the placket straight and flat, just like on these OG107 pants. Keeps them straight and flat, and it feels kind of interesting when you're buttoning them up being stitched like that. You have the patch pockets, which are virtually identical, right? The same kind of patched on pockets, but they're slightly different, as in this one is bar tacked across like that, and this one's bar tacked like that. They're both military specifications, even the Indigosea, of course, and this one's a vintage one. So these are just the differences between the OG107s and the OG507s. As I flip it on over to the back, you know, you have these kind of buttons here The OG107s definitely pick up a lot of lint. The 507s do not. Yeah, very, very nice. I am loving the OG107s. I'm going to wear them quite a bit. These are lighter, by the way. The OG507s are a little bit lighter than the OG107s. And I mentioned that in my 507 video. I made that one a few weeks ago, and I just got these recently, unknowingly. I didn't even know I was going to get my hands on these. And now we're making this video. And here, let me show you as well the M65. Of course, the color is going to be a little bit different due to the fact that this has been faded quite a bit. You know, it's been used. This is a civilian model, vintage from way back in the day. I did a video on this as well. But that's the official uniform, the pants and the jacket at least, which looks very cool, very old school. So in my OG507 video, someone mentioned that they look a little bit baggy, and I would kind of agree. Yeah, they do look a little bit baggy in the sense that if you're sizing correctly, there will be somewhat of a baggy look to it because that's kind of how they're built. And they're also built to be bloused at the bottom, right? And when I was in the military, that means we would have these kind of elasticized bands, and we would do basically like this with the band, and it would tuck the material appropriately and tightly. It's not going to look right now. I don't have the thing. And it would basically be bloused. And what happens is it creates a unique kind of drapey look, and that's kind of how they're supposed to be designed, especially these OG507s, which look a little bit more like dress pants versus these 107s that look a little bit more like something a raw denim head might wear. These Indigosea OG107s are honestly amazing. I'm a little bit speechless with how much I like them because they have a really vintage vibe to them despite not being actually vintage, right? They are a reproduction as the wind is really kicking in. And to me, they look so good. I do agree with a lot of people, since I am more of a denim head, I kind of lean that way toward liking quality materials. I would agree that these are probably what you want if you want to see material age over time, something that kind of becomes more of yours, whereas the synthetics of the OG507s, these won't show as much of the life and what you've been putting them through because of the material. It's kind of how it works. It's kind of how they were designed. Honestly, they look amazing. When I look at them, I feel them, and they use a zipper. So if you prefer a zipper, you might actually prefer these along with the lightness of them. Very light pants, but these are very light as well because they're 9 ounce and they'll shrink up to about a 10 ounce. And in terms of shrinkage, you probably want to size up a little bit. Like for me, it might have been better to go for the size 34. When it comes to these trousers, these are designed to military specifications, and the size 32 inseam actually measures closer to about a 31.7 inch. And that's kind of a difference for certain people. Like, it makes a difference, especially once the material shrinks. It's going to be a little bit shorter than that even. And I'll put the measurements for these before the shrink and after the shrink in the written article on Splished.com. But yeah, check out Indigosea. These are amazing. Use my affiliate links in the description below. I get a little bit of a kickback, but I love this stuff. I wouldn't be rocking it and making long videos like this if I didn't. Reverse cotton sateen, it's just hard to beat. I'm really enjoying it, especially because I've been wearing heavyweight denim lately. The amount of lightness you get out of this is seriously amazing. Hey, leave some comments and let me know, is this the one to get, or what would you get in terms of an OG107?